Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Hey, everybody. My name's John. I'm one of the leaders here at Trinity Church, and we're just going to do a brief Slack demo today. So Slack is a tool. It's both a website and an app that Trinity Church uses to manage our online community, which is a place that we have engagement and communication between the regular attenders and members of our church. And so the things that we're going to cover in this brief session are, first of all, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about what Slack is to give you a little bit of an understanding of that if you're not familiar already with the tool. Then I'm going to talk about how to get access to Slack, because you need to be invited to get into Trinity's Slack platform. And there's a way for you to get those invitations. So we'll talk through that, and also how to do your first login if you've never been in the tool before. And then I'll talk through some of the basics of how to actually use Slack once you're inside. As we go along, I'm going to show as much as I can in Slack, but this is an actively used community. And so I'm not going to be able to go into every little detail. And I also have kind of set up a couple specific sample conversations that I want to show here, because since it is actively used, there's private conversations that are happening. And since this is a YouTube live stream, I, of course, want to avoid broadcasting any of those things. So most of the things we're going to look at are going to be here in Slack on the screen share you see on YouTube right now. And then I also have some slides to share about how to do your first login. So yeah, we'll jump right into it. And as we go along, there's a comment feature on YouTube. So feel free as we go. I'll be periodically stopping to look for questions. So if you're tuning in, you're watching, and something comes to mind that's a question for you about how to do anything that we're talking about here, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll try to answer as many of those as I can. So let's jump right in. First of all, let's talk about what Slack is. So you can see kind of behind me, Matt and I are having this conversation about me leaving my mute on at the beginning of this video. And all of this that you see here to the side of my face, this is all Slack. This is what it looks like on the inside. And as I mentioned at the top, it is a website, and it's also an app. So you can get this on your phone, or you can use it on your computer. I use both of those things, but today I'm going to be showing it on the website version, because that's just a bit easier to demonstrate via a YouTube live stream like this. But the process and the things, the techniques and the kind of the basics that we're going to be talking about today are very similar between the website and the app. So just bear that in mind. So with that said, what is Slack? You know, this is the background. If you're curious about kind of where it came from, it was originally designed as a tool for businesses and organizations to use to replace email. So we'll talk a little bit more about direct messages and channels when we get to the basic section later, but that's kind of what they've used to organize communication and to make it searchable in Slack. But for Trinity and our purposes, we're using it to allow all of our members and attenders and people who are involved with the church to communicate. All right, let's talk about our login and gaining access to Slack. And for that, I'm going to use these slides. So first of all, I mentioned that you have to have an invitation to get into Trinity's Slack platform. And so first of all, who receives invitations? If you are a member of Trinity Church, if you're a regular attender, or if you filled out a communication card from one of our live stream church services, then you will have already received an invitation to join Slack. If for some reason you didn't get that, or you have trouble finding it, or you have some sort of issue getting that invitation, then you can send an email directly to connect@try.church to request that invitation. So this is the first thing that you need to make sure that you have to be able to get into Trinity Church's Slack. Once you've done that, the email that you'll get when you open it up looks like this. And it'll have your email address here where I blacked it out. And all you need to do when you get this first email is you just have to click this Join Now button. And then, as with many types of account creation processes, you just create the name that you want to show up when you're communicating with people in Trinity Church Slack, and then create a password. I made a really long, secure one to try to set a good example of security best practices. So create a good password and then click the Create Your Account button. Now, if you're doing this login process for the first time, the next step that I'm going to show on this upcoming slide is a little bit confusing, or it can be a little bit confusing. So pay attention to this piece. So it's going to ask you to put in your workspace URL as soon as you put in your username and password and click continue. And you actually don't need to do this. What you need to go instead is go back to your email inbox and look for this email. It'll say, welcome to Slack. And so if you are on this previous screen on your login, don't be confused with this. Just go to your email, and you can even close this tab. Find the email that says welcome to Slack, and it'll show you the URL of the Trinity Church Slack and also the email that you used to sign up. And then all you have to do is click the sign in button. Once you do that, voila, you're into the Slack community. And within Slack, once you do this first login, it's going to give you this onboarding process, which is basically just going to give you some steps to help you get set up and going inside of Slack. So for example, you can see it's going to show you where you can go and add a profile picture, which is a great thing to do. It's also going to show you where you can go to manage notifications if you want to be notified or not notified when you get messages in Slack. And if you have logged in before, I also just want to add a little sub note here. If you have logged in before, but you have an issue and you want to change your profile photo or do something to manage your notifications or something of that nature, you can always manage your profile by going to this little arrow in the top left corner, right next to Trinity Church and right above your name. So that's where you can do that. So that is a brief and quick walkthrough of what you need to do in order to do your first login and get access to the Trinity Church Slack. So now I'm just going to pause for a moment. I'm going to check to see if there's any questions on my phone. If there are, we'll answer them. And if not, then we will continue on to the next section. All right. I don't see any questions so far, so we'll carry on. All right, so I'm going to click back over into Slack now, and I'm going to demonstrate a couple of basics. So I mentioned at the top channels and direct messages. Now we're going to spend a little bit more time defining what those are so that you can understand kind of the building blocks of how Slack works. So right now, I'm logged into the Trinity Church Slack instance. You can see up here, there's this section called channels, okay? And so you can think of channels as basically public or large conversation threads that are all organized by a topic or group. And so I'll give you just a couple examples to illustrate this here. We have one that I'm going to show a bit later, which is New Start Here, which is just has tips in it and is a place that you can go to actually ask questions later if you have more questions about using Slack. So I want to specifically highlight this to you. If you get into this Slack and you have trouble or have questions, come into this channel and you can ask them, and somebody like me or someone else in the church will be happy to answer them. And then there's some more channels you can see here, like devotionals, announcements about the church, prayer requests. We'll look at these more a little bit later, but these are topical things that tend to be public or broad and have a lot of people in them so that everybody can see what's going on. And then direct messages is a little bit different. This is a one-on-one private message between you and somebody else. And so I have this conversation between me and Matt. It's a private message. Him and I are just have a conversation about this live stream that we're doing right now. And so in here, if I want to send a new message to Matt, I can simply just type something like, "Hi, Matt," just like you would with like Facebook Messenger or some of those other instant messaging apps. And hey, look, Matt said hi. And so I also want to mention with these direct messages, another thing that is kind of useful to know about these is that you can start direct messages with multiple people. So if I wanted to have a direct message with Matt and say Merrick, I could add 2 people to a direct message at the same time, and then I'd have a thread that's a private message, but between the 3 of us rather than just a one-on-one message. And so the way that you create a new direct message, if you want to start a new conversation, is you click this little button here, and then it'll bring up a box, a search box, where you can type in the name of whoever you want to talk to, and then you can click on their name and start a new message. I'm not going to show that now because as soon as I click that button, it'll bring up a big list of names and pictures of people. And so I don't want to put that on the live stream. But if you have issues with doing that later, feel free to ask me in that New Start Here channel later, and I'd be happy to help you out. So that's an overview of direct messages and how they work. Now let's talk a little bit more about channels, and I want to dig into some more of the channels that we at Trinity Church use specifically. So when you first log in and you first join Slack, you're going to be automatically added to a few Slack channels. However, you're not going to be added to all of the channels that are available. And so if you want to go and find all of the channels, or you want to add yourself to a channel that you're not in yet, you can go to this plus button that says Add Channels. And when you do this, it'll have an option to browse channels. Okay, and so we're going to do that now, and this is going to give you an overview of all of the different channels that we have available inside of Trinity Church. And so this is a really great place to go when you're getting started. And so I would encourage you, if you're just getting started with the tool or you're not really sure what all is in there, just do this so that you get an overview of what's available and the conversations and topics that are already being discussed inside the Trinity Church Slack. And so you can see right now there's 13 public channels that are shown here. And each of these have underneath them, almost all of them, I think there's some that don't, but almost all of them have a description about what that channel is about or what it is for. And so I'm not going to go through the full list, but I am going to go through a few of these so that you get the idea and call out like a couple examples of the type of conversations that are happening in these channels. So I already mentioned the New Start Here channel. That's where you should go to ask questions about Slack later if you have issues or having a problem with anything related to Slack. You can go into this channel and ask about it. And you can see the description is new to our Slack community. Take a look at this quick start guide. Also, there are church-wide announcements. This is everybody who's in our Slack community is a part of this. And this could be like big announcements about new events or changes to the church service that we want everyone to know about. So you can go here to find out about those. There's one for articles. There are articles occasionally published to Trinity Church and the Confluence Church's websites, and we will share those in this article channel. So if you want to read some articles, that's a great place to go and find out about them. There's a devotional channel where there are scriptures and encouraging thoughts and things shared on an ongoing basis in that channel. There's Marketplace. I think this is an interesting one. If you need a roommate, have some furniture you're looking to give away, something of that nature, Marketplace is kind of a way that we can, as a church, can kind of help each other out and have a little bit of a sort of a sharing opportunity here in this Marketplace. I also want to call out prayer requests. I think this is a great one where you can give and pray over prayer requests. And then I also want to mention, here it is, random. So this one we've used, I think this is kind of a fun one. We've used this to have some like online games and do some fun things as a community online, which I think is especially fun during this time when we're not able to meet together in person. I think this is kind of a great place. And in the description is also loads of fun. So place for flim flam, faffing, hodgepodge, etc. I don't know who wrote this, but it's hilarious. So anyway, that's an overview of our channels. You can go in here and read more about them if you like. And then I'm going to go into this New Start Here channel and then give a little bit more details on kind of the basics of interactions and sending messages and a few best practices to keep in mind when you begin to use Slack. So let me open this up. And before I get into some of this, I'm going to pause again and check for questions. So again, if you have questions and you're with us on the live stream, feel free to post them on the YouTube comments and I'll try to answer them. All right. Looks like we don't have any coming through yet, so we'll carry on. All right. So in this New Start Here channel, what I want to show is just a couple of the basics of using a channel and kind of some of the etiquette behind leaving new messages and replying to messages in a channel. So first of all, when you first join a new channel, I want to point out something that's important, which is pinned items. When you first join a channel, you can access the description that we saw earlier by clicking this details button. And in there, you can find a lot of information, but one of the things that I want to call your attention to is this pinned items. And a lot of our channels will have this, and it's basically a pin to a resource that's going to be important, helpful, and relevant to that particular topic. So for our New Start Here channel, as an example, Matt has a pinned item that links to a Slack website, which has training material and like 101 information for how to use Slack. So if you want to learn more about kind of the ins and outs of using Slack, this would be a great place to go, and you can find that in the pinned items. Other channels have similar things that are documents or resources that are helpful or descriptions of the channel. So that's a great thing to have and to know about. Now, what I want to cover is some basics of communication. So one thing in Slack that it does not exist in a lot of other communication platforms is a distinction between starting a new topic and then replying to a topic. So let me give you an example of this. If I have two things I want to talk about, I have topic A and I have topic B. I have just started two new messages, one for topic A and one for topic B. Then say I'm somebody else who joins here and I am very interested in topic A and I want to say something about it, but I don't have anything to say about topic B. If I just said, hey, reply about topic A, this might be confusing because it's right next to topic B and it's not really associated to topic A. So instead of doing that in Slack, what you should do is go to topic A since you have something to say about it and hover over that message that you've sent and click the Start a Thread button, okay? And this is going to allow you to leave a reply that is specifically associated with that message. So here are my thoughts on topic A. And now you can see it's shown up as a reply to that first message that I started, okay? And so then this is a really helpful thing for organizing conversations. So for this, what we've just done here, this is showing like, hey, Merrick thinks topic A is the best. Matt has no opinion on topic A. So as you can see here, like it allows you to organize conversations by topic A and topic B, rather than having a big thread that you kind of have to sort through. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're using Slack. Another thing that's important is using @mentions, okay? So if I'm in New Start here, and I specifically want Matt to see something that I've written about, I can do this. I can go @Matt. What do you think about pizza? And so this will actually create a notification for Matt so that he will be notified on his website or on his app that somebody in the New Start Here channel has sent him a message. And then, so you can @mention specific people. You can also @mention an entire channel. So I could say @channel, what does everyone think about pizza? And so this is an important distinction here, because this will notify every single member of the whole channel that a new message has come. And so this is one to use sparingly, because some of these channels have a lot of people in them. So some of these have like almost 100 people in some of these channels. And so when you use @channel, you just want to make sure that it's something that everyone needs to see, or that it's important for everyone to know about. So just a little bit of information on @mentioning there. And then you can see, I also, just for fun, wanted to mention the emojis. So you can see Merrick added a pizza emoji here. And you can add emojis like as a reaction to these different messages by hovering and clicking this little face icon. And of course, if you're sending a new message, you can also just add it in, because that is cool. So yeah, that's basically how that works. I'm going to check here again to see if there are any questions. And then as soon as I do that, if there's any questions, I'll answer them. And if not, I'll do a quick review to make sure I've covered everything, and then we'll close the session. So checking for questions. If you have any, please leave them now or forever hold your peace. All right. Cool. Well, I don't see any questions right now. if there is nothing else, I think we'll close the session. And as I mentioned, this New Start Here channel, once you do get logged in, if you have any questions or problems and need help, come into this channel and feel free to do that @mention, do @mention for me, the actual John Yard, not the demo one. So feel free to do that, and then I'll be happy to help you out. So with that, I'll close the session and hope you'll find this helpful. Cheers, everyone.